Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of our podcast, Let's Play It by Ear. And this is our second season, Opus 2. I'm your host, Carrie, with my co host here,
Hello.
Joanna. Today, we are going to talk about why we communicate, the importance of communicating. And this is part two of this sort of mini series. We spoke about the importance of communication
Mm-hmm.
in episode two
Mm-hmm.
of this season. So this is just a bit of expansion and a little bit
Yeah.
more of our experiences. So Joanna, take it
So,
away.
I'm not sure how much I ended up touching on in the second episode, but um,
Mm,
uh, a lot of it was to do with how much I decided to tell my YouTube audience and my Twitch audience about what happened to us in 2021. So, with the whole skin
yeah.
thing that we talked about in episode 1 concerning my husband's skin condition, topical steroid withdrawal
Mm-hmm.
syndrome. So, um, it's interesting because, like, I would say that the problem with communicating too soon about stuff like this on YouTube is that videos on YouTube are essentially understood to kind of live forever. And people sort of binge watch things and will binge watch old videos of mine, especially. And so
Right.
if I were to post something on there about what we were going through with no real one diagnosis or two no sort of
Mm-hmm.
like conclusion as to what ended up happening, it ends up being this it turns into drama. Like it turns into drama that people just
Right.
kind of click through. That's not what I want my channel to be on YouTube. I want my channel on YouTube to have a pretty, like, yes, authentic quality about it, but also I want
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the topic more or less stays on the flute and music.
Right.
So I actually just shot a video because now that my husband is recovering fairly well and we know more about his condition and we know how to care for him, now I have all these answers of this is what it is, this is what happened, this is how we learned how to care for him, and this is how he's healing, right? Like, and so this is why I was just scraping by for 2021 and hardly came out with videos, right? I literally just shot this video this
Mm-hmm.
week and I'm editing it. By the time you guys hear this episode, it would have long come out. So, but I decided to basically wait until there was some sort of conclusion to this crazy catastrophic thing that happened to us before I made a just a one stop video about it. And really, the point of the video is just to communicate to my audience what happened so that there's no guessing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think that I burnt out because that's not what happened this time. I did burn out before, but this
Yeah.
time was not a burnout. I also did not want
Yeah.
them to think that I was abandoning them. And I don't want them to think that I hate YouTube, which that is absolutely not the case. And there are many other assumptions that could be made of why I would have gone missing for so long in 2021 on YouTube. So having a one-stop video is kind of a great way of just being like, spit it out, here's what's happening, okay, back to our normal program, like next
Mm-hmm.
video will be back to our normal program. But I think people will appreciate a video where they get to watch it at their own time, where I can give them a nice packaged
Mm-hmm.
delivery of what happened, you know.
Yeah.
I feel that it is respectful to them for them to know what happened. And it just kind of takes the guesswork and the drama out of, assuming what happened to me. Over on Twitch,
Mm-hmm.
though, because I see them every day, I had to approach it in a different way. So I had to tell them in the moment, something is happening. I am not at my 100% because I'm caring for John and we don't know what's happening. And the reason why I had to say that on Twitch is because they see me every day for an hour. So, well, technically only 4 days a week for an hour, but that's like, you know, a lot of the week, you know.
It's enough.
They see me a lot. So, for them, they were actually kind of riding this crazy storm with us. And so when we found out that it was topical steroid withdrawal, pretty much the next stream, I told them that we found out what it might be. And so they rode that storm out with me. And because I told them straight up what was happening, and they could tell how tired I was as a result, and they knew how tired I was, they were absolute angels about it. They were, you know, I told them I can't practice for right now, so what we're gonna do is just ooh and ah at flute gadgets and whatever. And so they would provide me content to look at, you know, like they really came through for me. You know, they're like, here's content for you to look at and ooh and ah at with us. And, you know, they will just randomly tell me something that's happening in their lives so they can help me take my mind off of this situation for an hour. You know, like they came through. But can you imagine if I didn't tell them?
There wouldn't be that sense of community, and they wouldn't feel like that drive to
right. And then and plus they
for
would
you, if I can say that.
They would be like, what happened to Joanna? Why is she practicing like crap all of a sudden? You know, they'd be like, does she not care about this anymore? And she's getting burned out, right? Which is like, that's not what's happening. I know that people would immediately jump to that conclusion, or a lot of people would, or people will be like, you know, guessing at, you know, why I seem so disinterested and kind of mentally not there, you know? But with them knowing, and a lot of them also shared their own skin conditions with me too. So they were sharing their own horror stories. Because a lot of skin conditions, like, as you know, you end up having to advocate for yourself because there's a lot of skin conditions that are not actually properly diagnosed. So the pain of having to advocate for yourself while you can't help yourself and you don't know really what's happening, it's like, it's the worst, right? And so with me telling them that this is basically what's happening to us right now, we're trying to figure out what he has, we're trying everything and nothing is working so far. You know, they just rallied around me and they were like, you know, like very similar thing happened to me. And they tell their story, and it really helped me feel like I wasn't alone, you know? So like, honestly, I feel like it was really good for them to see me as like this is Joanna, like, and not just Joanna the flutist. You know, they were like, we're seeing the real version of her that has to deal with life, you know? And I think being, right?
Real life Joanna.
Like, I think being vulnerable with them, again, it kind of put me in that spot where it's like, well, this is what's happening. Take it or leave it, you know, hang out with me or don't, because this is what's happening to me right now. You know? Honestly, it helped me almost sort of like take ownership of what was happening to me. And it was, I really don't know if like mentally I would be in as good of a spot as I am right now, you know, if I didn't tell them or if I didn't have that audience. Yeah, but I definitely had to find the most effective ways of communicating for those two different platforms, you know. It is, and it's also very different from communicating with my students. For my students, I sent out a mass email just detailing what's happening. Once we found out what topical steroid withdrawal was, I sent out a mass email. And I got the most amazing responses. Like, you know, people were like, I'm so glad you found out what it was, and anything you need to do it. Like, health is number one. And I got so many people telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very blessed to be teaching a bunch of people older than me. So they really stepped into their kind of like auntie, uncle, big brother, big sister mode. And they were just like, you know, at that point, I wasn't their teacher anymore. I was just Joanna, you know, like I'm just this, you know, person in their early 30s going through some crap, you know, and like, yeah, like I think it really, it's weird because I think one, it humanized me to them, but I think also it humanized them to me too. You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I am, but yeah, you see how like it's very different forms of communication on with each aspect of my my job. And you know, like you can't just kind of brashly go into communicating without really thinking through, is this the best way to communicate? You know, because at the end of the day, you want whoever is receiving it to receive it in a manner that they truly understand and empathize with you, right? Rather than, because you know, if you do it wrong on YouTube, it's going to sound like I'm just asking for attention and I'm just crying on the internet. You know, if you do it wrong on Twitch, it'll sound like I'm just yelling at my audience all the time. You know, if I do it wrong when I talk to my students about it, you know, then they're going to like feel like they're walking on eggshells around me as their teacher, right? Like you don't want that either, right? So it's like you really have to be very careful and thoughtful about how you're communicating to, you know, depending on the situation. Yeah, I ended up giving a lot of thought to that, and I'm glad everything kind of worked out the best it could. But yeah.
I was really glad to hear that too, because I think it's just about fundamentally how you relate to that certain population, and that dictates maybe how you would go about communicating with them, because you don't relate to everyone in the same way, right? You don't relate to your parents in the same way, you don't relate to your friends the same way, your colleagues, your husband, extended family, or even someone just you just met on the street. So again, it's that, like you said, it's that human aspect of who we all are and how we relate to each other.
I mean, I only talked about the communication in sort of the career aspect of it, but in the personal aspect, like Carrie, you were one of the first people to know that something was wrong. And you were actually, I was already chatting with you about it before we found out what it was. So you were there from the very, very beginning. And then it was you, our parents, and then our siblings. And we have a few close friends as well who game with us. And so it was basically just those people. You guys knew before anyone else did that something was wrong. And, you know, like you really know who your friends are when crap hits the fan, you know, like, because those are the first people that you think of. I need to tell them, you know? So I remember reaching out several times, updating you of like, this is what we know now, or this is what we're trying now. And this is what happened now, you know, like, you do have to communicate differently, depending on who you are contacting, you know?
Yeah. I kind of say that from experience because, I mean, with my husband, of course, we communicate in a certain way, and sometimes we do get into like silly jibber jabber
So do
mode.
we.
And then sometimes I accidentally bring that to
Yes.
outside of home. And then you do that because you're so stuck in that mode and
Yeah.
you're just happy, right? You're happy and loving life in that mode and you accidentally bring it outside and people look at you like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, you okay there? Smack you on the head. But yeah, I mean, as a silly side story, but
I hope John doesn't
yeah.
kill me for saying this, but it's too good not to say. So, um, judge us all you guys want. I welcome the judgment, but we will do things like meow at each other, or just I don't know.
Is he
But
listening at the door?
we'll like make not just meowing, but like combined with a lot of just complete gibberish. Okay, it's just complete gibberish. There's only meaning in how we express the gibberish, then we know what the other person is talking about. Anyway, yeah, I think you guys have
you guys do that.
yeah. There's
The
intonation and inflection.
Is
Yes, it is,
a
but it's
meaning.
complete gibberish, and yeah, they're not real words or anything. But John forgot that he was not with me one time, and he accidentally meowed at his coworkers.
Did the coworker
No,
bark
they just
back?
kind of like looked at him like funny for like 1 second, and then like promptly moved on to the next subject and forgot about it. And no one remembers it now. But he came home and told me, he's like, I've been hanging around you way too much. Like I meowed at my coworkers. Oh, it's so good.
It's like for us, we like I don't know who started
Yeah, I don't know
it,
who started it between us
but-
either. I don't know. Yeah.
It's both. I mean,
Yeah,
one starts,
yeah.
one perpetuates,
Yeah.
right? So tag team effort. We like to add the suffix eness
Right.
to certain words. One that comes to mind is like if we're cooking together, and I mean he's a
He is.
good
He's
cook.
a very good cook.
I feel. I don't like cooking. I'm not afraid to say that. I don't like
Right.
doing dishes, but I don't like cooking. But when I taste his cooking, I'm like, "Ooh, that's really good. Thank you, chef." He's like, "Oh, chef-uness." It's like we just add
Extra suffixes.
those suffixes
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
something. Yeah. There are lots of other words we added to. I can't think of it right now.
No,
but
because I mean you're not in that mode of communication right now, right? So like, yeah, no, we
No.
do a very similar thing. Like we add weird gibberishy suffixes to words. Yeah, like all the time. I like to joke that I'm a terrible influence on him because I like to use my eyes to express that I want something, and he's picked up on it. Like he never used to do this. And now he's starting to ask me for favors, like, you know, to bring him a cup of water from the kitchen or something like that because he's too lazy to go and get it himself, you know? Like he'll do that, and I'll know that he's asking for it just from the way that he's giving me puppy dog eyes, you know? Like I'm a terrible influence on him. He never used to do that before I met him. Yeah.
you also do so with your eyebrows too.
Yes, yeah.
Something.
He's definitely picked up
They go like
on
wait.
the eyebrows and the eye expressions and the and he does them scarily well. You know, I always cave. But then I do it to him too, and he always caves to
That's
me,
love.
so it's even.
Okay, well,
I can literally look at him and he'll
Fair
know that
enough,
I
fair
want
enough.
coffee. Like just from the look on my face.
okay.
So good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, communication, it comes in different forms. Doesn't have to
It
just be
really
verbal.
doesn't. Yeah. I mean, you know, like once you've been together long enough, you kind of know what the other person wants just from the body language, you know? Like you can just tell.
Yeah. Because you've established that connection with them as a human being, not as what they not with what they do, what they can do, or what they do for work. It's just
Yeah. It's just them. which, this is a great segue to our last point, which is this is something that Carrie and I have been talking about for a bit. I actually made a video about this because I've been wondering about this too. I made a video about it a long time ago, but it was essentially, who am I without the flute? Right. I've been wrestling with this for a long time. And it was first introduced as a question to me when I was 16, and was
Oh, wow.
I was very young, and
Yeah.
my family was going through a lot of stuff because we're pastor's family, and there's always drama when you're in a pastor's family, and so I was kind of talking about all this drama and stuff and how it was affecting me to it was a nun that was good friends with my dad, but that I didn't know very well. And my dad figured that having someone who's kind of outside enough of our immediate church circle. I mean, it's a nun and we're Protestants. Okay. So the Catholic nun. And he figured that she was like outside of the circle enough to be able to talk to us about this type of stuff. But what was really funny was that I wasn't just talking about sort of the drama of being in a pastor's family and stuff like that. I was also talking a lot about the flute. And she just noticed how much I was talking about the flute. And she was just like, she kind of interrupted me. And she's like, I'm, sorry for the interruption, but like, let's take the flute out of the picture. And let's take the pastor's family thing out of the picture. Like, who are you without those things? Like, who's Joanna? Like, what do you like? And I'm like, I like the flute. And she's like, you right?
Question
But
mark?
all the things that I was talking about, it would make it seem like I didn't like the flute because there was a lot of things I was complaining about, and pressure and like having trouble practicing and blah blah blah. And she was just like, like the flute just kind of sounds like this thing that's taken over your identity, but who are you underneath all of that, right? She was like, at a certain point, you have to admit, one day down the road, you're gonna be too old to play the flute. She was like, at that point, like when you're like in a senior's home, being taken care of by all these little youngins, like, and you lack the physical ability to play the flute. And she's like, God forbid, what if you get in an accident and you can't play the flute anymore? Like something happened to your body, something happened to your fingers, something happened to your mouth, like, and maybe the accident happened in such a way that you can't play the flute anymore. She was just like, who are you then? How would you identify yourself if you weren't a flutist? And I had no answer. It shook me to my core. And it was always the question in the back of my mind the whole time I was like auditioning for music school. So not surprised if that might have been part of the reason why I was so lackadaisical about how I, applied for music school. If you guys missed the first opus where I talked about how I applied for music school, you'll know that I'm a lazy butt. I only auditioned to one place because I was too cheap and too lazy to take a ferry to University of Victoria to do that audition there. I got in because someone else decided to go to some other school. So I got off of the waiting list and into the school. It was a fluke. It was a total fluke that I even really got into music school. Anyone hearing how I got into music school would be absolutely appalled at how much I clearly didn't care, I think this might have been in the back of my mind because it was like,
That-
well, whatever then.
kind of makes sense. I mean, in a
Right? Like,
twisted
I
sort of
don't think that was the
way.
right way to deal with it now that I think back. But I mean, I was like,
Yeah, well, I
right?
mean,
I was
at
like
that
16,
age.
17 years old at the time, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how my like pre fully developed brain decided to handle it, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then, you know, went through music school, felt like a fraud the entire way through. The imposter syndrome was insanely bad. And part of that feeling of being a fraud was, do I even care about the flute? How do I make the flute a career and yet not make it so much a part of my identity that it takes over? Like how do you do that? Is
Hmm.
that even possible?
It's
Yeah,
hard.
I mean, like right now the way that I balance it is, if I'm not working, I'm not playing the flute. Like if I'm not working, and it
Hmm.
doesn't mean I hate work. I love my work, right? I love when I get to play the flute, and I love when I get to figure something out on the flute. You know, and I love to be
Hmm.
able to explain flute concepts, and I love being able to try new flutes, review flutes and stuff like that, just be a total nerd about it. I love that stuff,
Yep.
right? But like I kind of give myself a hard cap of like, you can do this for 8 hours a day, and then you can't anymore. You have to explore other parts of yourself, right? So those other parts of
Hmm.
myself have been video games. I actually grew up on video games, but in an era where it was not that accepted to be a female and playing games. But through John and our friends, I've been able to kind of reclaim that part of like
Hmm.
of my love, you know, for something. Um,
Hmm.
and honestly, like when you're playing games, video games, especially team games with
Hmm.
friends, there's no hiding your real personality. It whether you like it or not, your because that's just how your brain works and strategizes, and you know, like and that's just how your brain, you know, processes what you need to do,
Hmm.
right? There's no hiding in a video game, you know, like with these gaming friends, they immediately found out that I was like a conniving little, you know, I was conniving, that I was, you know, I had, you know, like plans, and that I was like not that innocent. But at the same time, I'm also the type of person to tunnel vision into something and just beat the hell out of it, you know? Like,
How about a
right? Yeah.
Slytherin?
Like they immediately could tell I was a Slytherin. Like there's no hiding it. I would say that I usually can hide it for a really long time from people, until they get to know me. But when you're gaming, they knew it
Hmm.
from the beginning. Like there's no hiding it. You know, they're just like, oh, this she's that type of person. You know, like, and
Uh-huh.
so like that has, like, weirdly enough, I think gaming with friends has helped me figure out what type of person I am. You know, it's
Hmm.
helped me identify, I am, like, if I was playing a team game, I tend to play this type of role. Like, I tend to play the type of role where, you know, I have heavy armor on, and I stand in the front, and I just run up to the enemy and bash them in the face, and tunnel vision, and no other strategy. Other people, my other teammates, can figure out the strategy, and they can stay far away while I take all the hits, you know? Like, and I wanted to be the like elegant archers that are just far away shooting, but I suck at that. In any game where there are archers, I cannot play an archer. It's just not how I work. I always play the big, tanky, heavy armor, buff people that have like mallets or huge giant swords, or like, something to just literally, sometimes it's just punching, like it's literally just huge in your face, punch you to death while taking all of the hits for my team. That is the type of person that I am. And I just had to kind of accept it. Like in the beginning, I didn't want to, because I was like, that's not like, I wanted like an elegant role, Yeah, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm not
Your true
elegant.
colors are
There's
showing.
nothing elegant about me. I am like absolute like bottom tier, like hit you in the face trash, Like that's what I am. And I've learned to kind of like embrace it, Like now whenever we go into a new game and I see a character that is like that big brawny type of guy, right? I'm like, okay, I'm playing that guy cuz I'm probably going to like how he plays.
Okay.
John's the archer.
Yeah,
He's the
I believe
healer.
that actually.
He's a healer and an archer type of guy. Like he stays far away and heals people, which I find really like, it's like babysitting. If you're the healer, it's like babysitting. It is the most, like, in my opinion, the most stressful role that you could possibly play, because you have to literally keep track of everyone's health bars and heal them so they don't die, right? And I'm just like, I don't want to sit around babysitting everyone. Like, I want to go in and like, knock some people over, like I don't want to keep track of everyone's health bars, like, but that's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
And he's always been a healer, um,
Mm.
like our true colors are immediately shown. You can't hide it in a game. And I guess through that, I've been able to sort of get to know myself, actually. What about you?
That's good. Me. That is a question that I still struggle with, and it's actually, I kind of wish, well, I don't know. In some ways, I guess I wish I had been asked that question earlier on in life, like you, and started thinking about it way before I turned like 20
Right.
something or 30s. Although knowing myself, I don't know if that would actually have completely deterred me from going into music school or doing anything at all, because I'm the type of person that latches onto something and I latch hard. I don't let go
Yeah.
easily, if at all.
I believe the word is,
Um,
you're very tenacious. Like,
okay.
you hold on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
And
Ask
you
my
hold
parents.
on very quietly too.
No, don't.
You don't make a huge fuss about it, but if you want it, you're going to get it.
I've been told I am
Yeah.
quietly competitive.
I agree.
I I don't show it, but it's bubbling underneath the surface. Um, but yeah, that's actually a question that my husband posed. He asked me back before pandemic started. It's like, you're so busy. You seem so tired all the time. If you were to take a break, if you were to burn out, or like he asked, if you were old enough in the future, you can't physically handle playing the bassoon, or you can't lift it up. Who are you? What are you? I was like, I just flat out stared at him like, I have no idea. I do not have an answer. And I don't know if I have one now. I mean, I've had itty bitty tiny breakthroughs, in part thanks to the pandemic. Ironic. Um, I mean, at the time of recording this episode, we are still going
Yeah.
through COVID-19, Omicron. Uh, but the pandemic has really
Yeah.
affected live performances, especially
Yeah.
early 2020, or the year of 2020 actually. Live performances were few and far between, And as a freelance musician, that was like a quarter of what I was doing, or a third of what I was doing was just gone. And I just started questioning my own identity. If I don't perform, am I still a musician? I was still teaching. Very thankful for that. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love performing and I love sharing
Mm-hmm.
music with other people. So that part was just
Mm-hmm.
ripped out of my life. And I didn't know for
Mm-hmm.
how long it would last. So I wrestled with it for a long time. And uh, I've sort of come to the conclusion that, yeah, I am still a musician, even if I'm not actively performing or um,
Right.
not performing as much. But it doesn't mean I've given up on what I
Yeah.
love to do. I'm still able to
Mm-hmm.
do it, and I still will do it when the opportunity arises. But I've learned to be grateful for what I was able
Mm-hmm.
to do before, and will be grateful for any and all the opportunities that
I guess the
hopefully come.
difference is seeing those gigs as um seeing those gigs as like a given almost of a career.
Yeah,
And it
I think,
sounds like
yeah,
you've changed from seeing them as a given to seeing it as a blessing.
yeah, because it also affected my
Yeah.
self-worth. And that is another aspect that I struggle with. It's like I feel like if I don't perform enough and I don't show people that I'm performing enough, then I'm not a
Yeah.
musician, or people think I'm not a
Yeah.
legitimate bassoonist. Um, but I
No,
don't
it's
think
not.
that's true.
It is not true. I can tell you, at least just from a personal standpoint, because I've started, I started doing this online thing pretty early, like way before the
Hmm.
pandemic. So all
Yeah.
of my friends were performing and I wasn't. I was only performing like here and there a little bit, 3, 4 times a year with my
Mm.
orchestra. Um,
Hmm.
and that was it. Like literally only like 4 live performances a year. That's it. Everything else was online.
Mm.
So reviews were done online.
Hmm.
Teaching, it's just in my office, and teaching is done
Yeah.
here. Live streaming my practice sessions. I wasn't even performing in my live streams. Like I wasn't even performing in my live streams. I was practicing and nerding out about new flute models, you know? Like I
Yeah.
wasn't even performing. And so like I have to admit I also had the same thing where I was like, should I just perform more like on live stream? Like should I just like am I real? Like am I even real? Like am I a fraud to be like a flute teacher and not even like perform? But the thing is, everyone tells me that they come to my content specifically because I practice for real and because I'm not
Hmm.
just performing. And also, they find a lot of entertainment in watching me sight read something that I clearly haven't prepared. They just kind of want to see what happens to me, like, um,
Yeah.
and for the reviews, they're just like, we want to know what you think. Like we come to your content for
Hmm.
exactly what you deliver. Like we like it when you perform, but that's not what we're here for. And like it was weird. Like I don't know if I'm 100% over it. Like even now I get pangs of like, should I be like performing on like YouTube live stream more, like should I be playing more, but I think in the very back of my mind I know that I am still making a difference in people's lives through music. And if I
Hmm.
am, then isn't that already fulfilling the definition of a musician? right?
I think so.
Like, it's not traditional performance, but I am using music
Mm-hmm.
to touch people's lives.
Yeah. And I think in our, correct me if I'm wrong, in our first season, I think we spoke about the definition
Mm-hmm.
of being a musician. Like, what is it to be a musician? There's no, it's not just a mold that we all come
Mm-hmm.
out of and and
Yeah.
do the same
Yeah.
thing. There are varying roles within the music world that one can fulfill and still
Mm-hmm.
be a musician. So I think that we're slowly coming
I
to
think so. I
realize.
still struggle with it too. Like,
Yeah. I mean, again, it points to the human
mm-hmm.
side of us. We're not
No.
machines. We can't program that. Okay,
No, you
realize
can
this.
even realize it and still have trouble accepting it. You know, like I,
Yeah.
I, I think I have fully realized it now. Like that part done.
Hmm.
But in terms of like practicing what I realize, like I'm not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
That's really interesting that you started seeing gigs as like more of like a fun blessing, you know, rather than a given.
Because like I went from 2 to 3
Yeah.
gigs each month
Zero.
to 0 when the pandemic started, and then slowly, bit by bit, like here and there now. But I mean,
Yeah.
with all the changes, everything's just up in the air. I don't know if some of the ensembles I play would
Yeah.
still exist anymore.
It super sucks. Like the I'm I we'll talk about this last thing and then we'll wrap it up. But like
Hmm.
when I was performing 3 to 4 times a year, I definitely was like, I have to perform more. Like this can't be real. You know, like that I can't, you know. Am I can will I be respected as a musician if I only perform
Mm.
like 4 times a year, right? But like in the back of my mind I knew that like if even if I had more, I would always be like, oh, but if I had more gigs, then I would be more respected. And it's just like a never ending chase.
Yeah, just
Yeah. Like I knew that it was a very unhealthy like kind of hamster wheel, you know.
hmm.
Um
Hmm.
and you know, with the pandemic and everything, I ended up just leaving my orchestra because I was just like, it doesn't make sense. Like I'm not making money off of it. You know, at the end of the day, if they're cutting into my time that I could use to teach, I'm losing money.
Yeah.
Then it's like, am
Hmm.
I really being smart as a musician if I'm doing that? Like, at a certain point, you have to draw the line at like, sure, there's your pride, but you
Yeah.
have to draw the line at practicality, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a balance that I'm still learning to strike. Yeah.
Hmm. I'm still learning to strike a certain balance as well too, but just in a slightly different way.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
all learning still. We never stop.
Well, I think that is a good place to wrap up. Um,
Hmm.
guys, thank you so much for listening to us do therapy on ourselves. um, yeah, we hope
Really is.
that at the very least you guys can join in the conversation with us. We're not trying to teach you guys anything. We're not trying to like, you know, get you guys to follow our ways. It's not that at all. We're just sharing what we think and how we really feel about being musicians, and we hope you can join in the conversation. So if you want to join in the conversation, there's a few ways that you guys can contact us. One is by email, let's play it by ear
Mm-hmm.
podcast@gmail.com, as Carrie is holding up to the camera. You can also contact us on our social media. So there's Instagram, Let's Play It by Ear Podcast. Then there is on Twitter, at let_ear, but our full name on there is still Let's Play It by Ear Podcast. There is Facebook, Let's Play It by Ear Podcast. And also, you're probably listening to this either from Anchor.fm or any of the other places that Anchor.fm streams to or distributes to. Anchor.fm / I think Let's Play by Ear. And we have our website as well, letsplaybyear.com. So guys, we hope that you enjoyed, and if you want to join the conversation, please contact us. All right, well, that is the end of episode number 4. We will see you guys in the next one. Have an amazing day, guys. Bye-bye.
See you later.